Yo, yesterday I made a video looking at the GFS model. It was the 12Z yesterday that showed a hurricane developing and heading towards Southern California and making landfall in Baja California, yet the remnants like streamed north into Arizona and California. And I had said that if this model changes and it goes any bit more west, that you would have basically a San Diego, Los Angeles landfall of a hurricane. So we're like a day ahead from that, and so there have been several models that have, it makes a model every 6 hours, or the GFS does, and so I wanted to take a look at the current 12Z. So yesterday's was Saturday, the 12th. Now it's Sunday, the 13th of August, 2023. And let's run this. I've already watched it, but this is um, pretty much what I was talking about. Any more west, and that happens. Actually, you can see here. Um, it's a The run is slightly different. Obviously, it you know takes in and makes new calculations and remodels things based on those new calculations. But you can see it no longer really makes a direct landfall like right here, and then everything streams up. It kind of goes along the coastline, and in this model, doesn't actually on the 12Z. This is kind of a landfall, but kind of not as much. Like I guess it makes a landfall uh, here, you know, um, as you can see, but it's not like, head on kind of, and it just kind of dissipates after that. Though, that is a significant amount of stuff for a while over top uh, Southern California, um, of like storm activity. In fact, at this point, it's over like all of California pretty much. Um, but if we, and I'm not sure that this is something. This is definitely not common. It's not something I've seen before, as far as like any kind of larger system making, you know, a landfall or close to a landfall in Southern California. So we can look at the 6Z here, which is the previous run, and this one's even more interesting actually. So one thing I want to notice is another YouTube like um, weather channel that I was watching, even when they were looking at this, was saying it was like a strong hurricane. I mean, from the basis of, first of all, it's very large. Like you can see the size of like, here's a hurricane, or here's some kind of tropical system that's developing. It has an eye wall, and you can see it's organized enough to be cyclical, or cyclonic, right? And here you can see that the size of this one, and you saw Dora go right. I think this is Dora, and then you see this other one, and this one's massive in comparison, right? It's like multiple times as large, and it looks pretty strong too, and it defines, like, let's see, you see some definition on, according to this, by like the 16th you're really starting to see it define, and then 17th, 18th it gets more defined, and it tracks along the coast here. And then this is more the type of run that I was talking about, where if it makes a landfall a little bit west of where it had yesterday, that you would see this. So I'll just let this run play out. This is the 6Z from today, and you can see that as it makes its land, and then another one appears. but as it makes the landfall here in Baja California, it makes it, I guess, here a little bit. I don't know. Is this west? I think it's a little more west of where it had in the other one, and you can see that all the remnants are over top of Los Angeles, and you see me looking over. I'm just, by the way, I'm looking at this, or I'm looking at this because this is what's going on at Etna. Uh, but because that just started doing stuff, I think today. Um, but anyway, you can see this landfall here, and I mean, it is that like this is a significant amount of stuff. You normally don't see this amount of, um, organized storm activity over Southern California. So, uh, there is that, and then like the newer model again just has, and let's even go to the 0Z. So this is the one from like it makes one every 6 hours is like the midnight one that it makes, and then it makes one at 6 a.m., 12 p.m. uh and what's that called, 6 p.m. Okay, so you can see that this one is more exactly like I'm talking about, where it makes a landfall. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't even say it necessarily makes a landfall in Baja California. Like this, basically, it kind of hits the coast and starts to break up. But it definitely, I would consider this like really the majority of it makes the landfall uh, in Los Angeles and San Diego, right? I mean, you can see that for a while there's stuff over top of the area here, and so yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about in the previous video, and these are the newer models. So, um, this is still far enough out to where with the GFS you can't necessarily say this is exactly what's going to happen. Like, it generally a few days out it's pretty accurate, but once you get past a certain number of hours, I think they usually say like 72 to 100 hours, um, or like the general consensus is that it becomes a lot less accurate, which I think is true. But also generally, like first of all, we're halfway through the slider, so there's a lot more. This goes to the 28th and it starts at the 12th, right? So you know, you can see the formation somewhere between, I guess really the 16th and the 18th is when you really see the formation of like something you can make out for sure. I guess the 16th to 17th. Yeah. Anyway, so it forms up, and the closer we get to it, the more that this is what the model shows. It's just more likely that that's how it's going to play out, right? And again, since there have been multiple runs where you see something like this, I think we're starting to get, every day we move forward and the runs look like this, the more likely something like this is going to play out. And I even think, this being the most recent one, I even think this would be significant for a lot. I'm not that I can't think of something where a hurricane basically makes a landfall in Los Angeles. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. You know, my parents who were born in the 40s, I don't think they've ever seen something. I don't think anybody probably alive today has really seen, like when I looked it up, there's a Wikipedia talking about specifically, in fact, I can pull it up, about so there's a Wikipedia, right? And here's all of the different things. And in the previous video, I was talking about Eugene. That's actually the last thing that it has here. But most of the things that you see here are says moisture from, remnant moisture from. Uh, a lot of these are it's the remnants or it brings high surf or something. Um, but this doesn't look like it's the remnants. This looks to me like this is legitimately like this looks like it's about to like in these you're seeing like possible landfalls, right? Which is I don't know because I haven't gone through every one of these, um, but I don't think that's something that has happened before. I do have a feeling like when this gets closer to being like if this is still the what's modeled when as we get closer, you're gonna hear people bring out the stats and they'll give you exactly the weather people basically this is their job would be to be like, oh well actually this has happened, blah blah blah. But since I've been watching, this is like really the first time where like a defined system makes some kind of landfall around Los Angeles. I will say when you look at the waters around Los Angeles, so let me in Southern California, uh, this is a table. Huh. So it keeps showing this table here, but yesterday I had pulled up a map that was also put up by NOAA. We'll click this one. Anyway, long story short, I can't. I don't know why it's not. Uh, okay, this is what I had pulled up. Here we go. So you can see when you look at the coast of California here, the water, north of like around Northern California is very cold, but around Southern California is not. I mean, it's not warm in the sense of like if you look at uh here's a global temperature map. If you look at it, I mean, in comparison to you know the Gulf of Mexico here, or even the Gulf of California, or off the coast of the Gulf of California, it's you can actually kind of see like maybe one of the things that's guiding it is like it seems to be making landfall, at least in some of their models, like right where the water temperature significantly changes. But even with this, I could still see it going up, and doing that and like the remnants causing um, issues. So I guess we'll see what happens, but it just seems like another day where the model like pretty much all three models are showing the same like some kind of similar situation along with the models from yesterday which show a situation where you do have a major hurricane making landfall and the remnants carried up for sure into like Los Angeles, San Diego, Southern California area, or you like the most recent one Like, again, technically, is this a landfall? I mean, this looks landfallish to me, but it's already kind of broken up, at least in this model at that point. But you know, down here, this is a major hurricane. This is a very that's a defined eye wall. That's a very like organized looking central mass of storm activity, and then only once it looks like, again, where this is pretty much the point where the water temperature changed on that map that we just looked at. So um, since hurricanes get fed by the water that they're over, that does make sense as to why there would be disorganization once it gets over the colder waters. But we'll see what happens. So anyway, I'll keep looking at this and making videos about it. I think I'm gonna upload this one and the other one to YouTube, and you know, not sure I'm gonna make them public yet, but I do think, like, well, if it keeps showing this and we keep heading this way, this would be like a historic. I mean, that would be. I don't think I've ever seen like a hurricane in Southern California. And again, like the Wikipedia, it doesn't seem that there has ever been a real landfall in Southern California. I would even suggest this is probably the closest thing to a landfall in Southern California, if it even did this, where it like, or in California, on the coast, where it like, um, you know, hits Lompoc, Santa Barbara, all the way to Malibu, and I mean, I'm Santa Monica and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this is squarely in LA right here. So, yeah, uh, Vandenberg Air Force Base, and you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm going to just keep an eye on it, and again, if there's more runs that look like this, I will make videos on it, and we'll see. Most people are still talking about, Hawaii, which in and of itself seems like, I was just looking at a thing where it was talking about how like alert systems weren't really used properly, or didn't go off, and that people seem to think that there's not accurate reporting of loss of life and other things. So a lot of people's focus currently is on that. Like a lot of the weather. Go to Fox Weather YouTube, and like all the videos they've made recently are about Hawaii and a number of other places. But as we get closer to whatever this is modeling happening, and if it continues to look like this, I'm sure people's attention will shift to this. So that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And one more thing, I'm pretty sure I've brought this specific exact scenario up in my videos before. Maybe not the ones on YouTube, or probably not the ones on YouTube, though maybe one or two of them on YouTube might say something like this. But I definitely have said it in the videos that are in my hard drive. Like 100%, I'm positive I've brought this exact scenario up. And with the why I think something might happen like this, and then it looks to be happening exactly like that. So I don't know which video it is, because I have like hundreds of hours of videos, maybe 1,000 at this point. But like I have a lot of hours of videos on my computer, which is one of the reasons why I'll be happy for AI to be able to like look over all my videos at some point, and then I'll just be able to say, hey, that time when I bring up this thing, or like touch on this subject, can you bring up every clip, like every video, and like give me the moments in those videos where I bring this up, and then I could go back. So at some point, if something like this does happen, and I have brought it up in a previous video, I'd be able to just go, like, even if I don't know which exact video it is, I can just say, hey, would you go to this the point where I brought this up in whichever videos that I have on, whichever videos are in my archive, and like, we can look at what I said around that point and why I was saying that I would believe that something like this would happen. So, yeah, okay, well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Have a blessed one. Later. Again, looks like even more than last time. Uh, it looks like there's at least in the model, there is a hurricane making a landfall in Southern California, in Los Angeles, which is like, you know, you can see the lightning stuff in my videos. I mean, it's not hard to imagine, hey, there's probably a guy exactly like the Bible says who's on the throne of Yahweh, and because people specifically aren't listening to him and in fact are doing the opposite and are trying to beat him over the head with stuff and make him feel bad and psychologically, mess with him, that bad shit would happen. So might be reasonable to just like weight what I'm saying a little heavier and maybe don't let people fuck with me in the way that it seems like people are trying to. I mean, I would just reasonable to me. I mean, I might be a little more reasonable, but than most people, but whatever. It is what it is. So okay, have a blessed one. Later. Yeah.